Russell Wilson has always been known for his cool and composed demeanor, but this time, he snapped. In a shocking turn of events, Wilson fired back at a reporter during a live press conference after being asked a completely out-of-line question. The moment sent shockwaves across the sports world, instantly going viral. Fans couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. Did the reporter cross the line, or did Wilson finally have enough of the media's antics? Whatever the case, one thing is certain. This was a side of Russell Wilson that no one expected to see. Stay tuned because things get intense. For years, Russell Wilson has been a model athlete when dealing with the media. Whether it was during his time in Seattle or his recent tenure in Denver, Wilson always carried himself with class, dodging controversy and avoiding unnecessary drama. Even when facing criticism about his performance, leadership, or even his massive contract, he remained professional, never letting the negativity get to him. But as the pressure mounted this season, something changed. The scrutiny became relentless. Pundits, analysts, and even former players began questioning everything about him. Was he still an elite quarterback? Did he deserve his massive contract? Could he still lead a team to the Super Bowl? The media storm intensified after a series of disappointing games. Every press conference felt like a trial, with reporters dissecting his every word, his body language, and even his faith and personality. The once beloved Super Bowl champion was now a constant target for critics, who seemed eager to tear him down. Despite all of this, Wilson continued to keep his composure. That is, until this moment. During a routine press conference, things took an unexpected turn. One reporter, known for being blunt and sometimes pushing the boundaries, decided to test Wilson in a way that caught everyone off guard. Instead of focusing on the game, the strategy, or the team's next steps, the reporter asked a deeply personal and, many would say, completely inappropriate question. The room went silent. Journalists, players, and fans watching the live broadcast could feel the tension immediately. It wasn't just a tough question. It was a blatant provocation designed to get a reaction. For a split second, Wilson hesitated. You could see the frustration in his eyes. This wasn't just another typical media session. This was something different, something that hit a nerve. And then, it happened. Russell Wilson, known for his diplomatic and measured responses, finally snapped. His reaction was instant, raw, and completely unexpected. It was the kind of moment that would be replayed on sports talk shows, dissected in Twitter debates, and turned into viral clips that would dominate social media. But what exactly did he say? And how did the NFL world react? Get ready, because this is where things get truly explosive. As the press conference continued, Russell Wilson fielded the usual questions, ones about strategy, execution, and how the team planned to bounce back. He answered with his typical poise, delivering responses that were professional yet calculated. But then, everything shifted. A reporter, known for his controversial takes and tendency to stir up drama, leaned forward, gripping the mic tightly. The room quieted. His voice cut through the air like a blade. Russell, given your struggles this season, do you think your teammates have lost faith in you as a leader? And more importantly, do you think your persona, the whole Mr. Unlimited thing, the positivity, the rehearsed speeches, do you think it's all just fake? Are you losing the locker room because guys see through it? The question landed like a grenade. The air in the room grew thick with tension. A few reporters shifted in their seats. Some players and staff standing in the background exchanged looks, eyes wide, as if they couldn't believe what they had just heard. Social media was already lighting up, with live tweets spreading the question before Wilson even had a chance to respond. It wasn't just a tough question. It was a direct attack on his character, his leadership, and even his authenticity as a person. This wasn't about football anymore. This was personal. The question implied that his teammates didn't trust him, that his entire persona was an act, and that he was a fraud in the eyes of those who mattered most, his team. For a moment, Wilson froze. His jaw tightened, and his usual composed expression faltered ever so slightly. This wasn't just another media jab about stats or performance. This was an accusation that everything he stood for was a lie. You could see it in his eyes, the battle between staying calm and finally letting loose. He had spent his entire career being the nice guy, the polished professional who avoided controversy. But at that moment, something changed. Russell Wilson wasn't going to let this slide. What he said next sent shockwaves across the NFL world. His response wasn't just a simple rebuttal, it was a statement, a moment of pure, unfiltered truth that would define his career in ways no one saw coming. And trust me, you need to hear exactly what he said. The room was silent. Every eye was locked on Russell Wilson, waiting for his response. The question had been brutal, borderline disrespectful, but this was the moment that would define how he handled adversity. Wilson took a deep breath. He didn't smile. He didn't laugh it off. He didn't even look away. Instead, he leaned forward, locked eyes with the reporter, and spoke in a tone that was calm but icy. "Let me make one thing very clear," he said, voice firm. "I don't play this game for approval. I don't step on that field to impress the media or feed narratives. I play for my teammates, for the people in that locker room. And if you think for 1 second that they don't believe in me, then you haven't been paying attention." The confidence in his words was undeniable. Wilson had always been the polished, well-spoken leader, but this was different. This wasn't a rehearsed response. This wasn't Mr. Unlimited smiling through the criticism. This was raw. This was real. The reporter smirked, clearly enjoying the tension. "So, you're saying there's no issue in the locker room? That your teammates fully buy into you?" Wilson didn't hesitate. "You ever been in a locker room? You ever been in a huddle when the game's on the line? Because I have. And let me tell you something. You don't win games without trust. You don't fight back from adversity without belief. And I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that when I walk into that huddle, those guys believe in me just as much as I believe in them. So no, there's no issue. The only issue is people like you pushing narratives that don't exist." Boom. The tension exploded. Reporters started typing furiously, tweets were flying, and social media was already ablaze with reactions. Some were calling it Wilson's best moment in front of the media, finally showing some fire, shutting down the critics with authority. Others saw it as defensive, proof that the pressure was getting to him. But one thing was certain. This was not the same Russell Wilson everyone was used to seeing. His words were replayed, analyzed, and dissected across sports shows for days. But what happened next? Oh, that's when things really got interesting. Because this story was far from over. The internet exploded within minutes. Clips of Russell Wilson's heated response flooded social media, and the reactions were nothing short of chaotic. On one side, Wilson's fans and former teammates rallied behind him, praising his passion and leadership. "That's the QB1 energy we need," one fan tweeted. Another wrote, "Finally, Russ claps back." Enough of the fake smiles. This is the fire we've been waiting for. Even former NFL players jumped into the conversation, with one ex-teammate posting, "This is the Russ I've known since day one. Y'all thought he was soft?" Think again. But not everyone saw it as a win. Sports analysts went to war over his reaction. Some defended Wilson, saying the question was out of line and intentionally disrespectful. ESPN's Stephen A. Smith even chimed in, saying, "That was a garbage question. Russell Wilson handled it like a grown man." Others weren't as convinced. Skip Bayless, never one to hold back, saw it differently. This isn't the reaction of a confident quarterback. This is a guy feeling the pressure, trying to convince himself that his locker room still believes in him, he argued. His take instantly sparked debates online, with thousands of fans either roasting or agreeing with him. Then came the memes. Oh, the memes. Screenshots of Wilson's intense stare at the reporter became instant viral material. One popular meme showed his face with the caption, "Broncos country, let's argue," a play on his infamous "Let's Ride" slogan. Another had his quote, "You ever been in a huddle when the game's on the line?" superimposed over dramatic NFL footage. It was everywhere. NFL insiders also weighed in, with some reporters suggesting that Wilson's teammates loved his fiery response. Some guys in that locker room felt like he needed to say that. It was a moment of leadership, one anonymous source told The Athletic. But others whispered about underlying tensions. And just when it seemed like the hype was cooling off, Wilson himself made a bold move that reignited the entire conversation. What did he do next? Oh, you won't believe this. Russell Wilson's viral exchange with the reporter didn't just dominate headlines for a few days. It completely reshaped the narrative surrounding him. For years, Wilson had been viewed as the ever-positive, polished, and sometimes overly rehearsed quarterback. But now, fans and analysts saw a different side of him. For some, this was a game changer in a good way. Many believed this moment added depth to his public image, proving that Wilson wasn't just the guy delivering cliché lines about faith, family, and football. He showed raw emotion, fire, and an edge that some had thought was missing since his early days in Seattle. This resonated deeply with Broncos fans, who had started to doubt his leadership after a rocky season. Suddenly, social media was flooded with calls for trust in Wilson. "This is our guy. He still has that dog in him," one fan tweeted. But others weren't buying it. Some critics felt that Wilson's response only added more pressure on him to deliver on the field. If he was going to talk tough, he had to back it up with elite performances. Some skeptics saw his reaction as a sign of cracks in his confidence, arguing that he wouldn't have lashed out if he wasn't feeling the weight of expectations. Colin Cowherd even went on air and said, "This wasn't leadership. This was frustration boiling over. If Wilson wants to prove the doubters wrong, it won't be with words, it'll be with wins." And then came the biggest question of all: how would this impact his future in Denver? Inside sources reported that the Broncos front office had mixed reactions to Wilson's fiery press conference moment. Some executives loved his passion, seeing it as a sign that he still had the hunger to lead the team. Others worried that it was a distraction, the kind of media circus that could put even more pressure on a locker room already struggling to find consistency. Despite the debate, one thing was clear. Wilson had put himself in a position where he had to deliver. His reputation, his future with the Broncos, and even his legacy as an elite QB would now be judged by what he did next. And speaking of next, what Wilson did after this press conference stunned fans even more. Russell Wilson's reaction has set the sports world on fire, and now the pressure is on him to back it up. Do you think this moment will fuel his comeback, or is this the beginning of the end for Wilson in Denver? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe for more unfiltered sports coverage. We bring you the biggest moments, raw reactions, and insider takes you won't get anywhere else. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over.